and welcome to Reliving My Youth. My name is Noel. My guest this week is Gilbert Gabriel. Gilbert was the keyboardist and co-writer for the British trio, the Dream Academy. They released 3 studio albums. Their debut album produced their biggest hit, Life in a Northern Town. It reached number 7 on the Billboard charts back in '85. Gilbert just talks about the everlasting effects of that song. The album also featured the minor hit The Love Parade, which I absolutely love. Their first and third albums were produced by Pink Floyd's David Gilmour. Gilbert talks about how that came about. 2 of their songs were featured in 2 John Hughes movies. The first was a cover of the Smiths' Please, 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 Let Me Get What I Want. It was featured in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The second was a special instrumental version of Power to Believe, which the band recorded on John Hughes' request. The band just released a 7-CD box set called The Dream Academy, Religion, Revolution, and Railways back in February. It is pretty much a complete work of the band. It is fantastic. Everyone check it out. Gilbert also catches me up on what he's been up to these days. I really enjoyed my conversation with Gilbert. It was very insightful, and I hope you do as well. So Gilbert, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
That's a big pleasure.
Yeah, so I was really excited to hear, and it was actually your post on Facebook that Dream Academy had a 7-CD box set that came out recently, and I just purchased it. I'm waiting for Amazon to deliver it. Religion, Revolution, and Railways. Complete, basically recordings of the Dream Academy. Did you have a hand in putting this together, or was this all the record company?
No, it's Nick's special hand. He kind of decided that he was going to do it. Yeah, I mean, I've been encouraging him to do some immersive remixing of some of the tracks and stuff like that. And I've been working at Real World at Peter Gabriel Studio with immersive sound. So he said that maybe in the future we're going to do that. I'm kind of excited about that. But I think he's done a good job with the kind of visuals and stuff like that. And it seems like it's the first 3 albums, and then there's a lot of demos that I'd forgotten about and stuff, and then remixes that he's compiled. So it's like having a sort of sonic or oral sort of memory sort of pack of our lives, really, which is amazing. Yeah, kind of cool.
Now, hearing some of those demos and B-sides that you kind of forgot about, when you first heard them again, did it kind of immediately bring you back to when you guys recorded those?
Yeah, I'm quite a visual person, so it's almost like I look up almost like what my sister was talking about, kind of neurolinguistics, where your eyelids go up and you've got to imagine a pink hippopotamus. So immediately my eyes go up, and then I kind of replay a bit of the past and think, where were we? What studio were we doing? There was one track that we did ages ago called "The Day It Rained Forever," which is a shame that we didn't really put out. I was quite psyched about that. That was on the 16 track. And then there was also a bit of film music that I did. I had a day in the studio left to my own devices, which I did with Paul O'Duffy, that did quite a lot of production with Swing Out Sister, and also that famous James Bond the composer. What's his name?
John Barry.
Yeah, John Barry. Yeah. So that was great fun in those early days, and like 85 or something, using a sampler. Like he had a sampler then before even the Akai samplers came out.
Right.
And so that was like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. So fond memories.
Right. And before like Hans Zimmer became really Hans Zimmer, he programmed some stuff for you for what?
Summer,
right?
On Power to Believe, we were down in this studio and he was working with Stanley Myers. And there was a bit of a coincidence actually, because my friend Steve Lambert, who came to India with us to play a little bit of guitar and be in a video, knew him at university in the 70s. So it was like really weird, these kind of loops. And I also got another weird loop like that with Jeff Travers that I'd hitched up from Dartington, which, as you probably know, the background of me being at this bohemian kind of art college with all the kind of crazy ideas and theatre students and art students. I remember hitching up to London to get a record deal or go and see people. One was playing me kind of stuff like Weather Report, and I thought, I can't compete with them. And I met Jeff Travers in a small room. He's the guy from Rough Trade that did all Morrissey and all these sort of people.
Yeah.
And he had all these records in a small room. And then later, he was the kind of the initiator of getting us our deal in the States, and I had some other record deals with him. And I'm a big fan of him and his indie kind of bands, Jesus and Mary Chain, and Everything But the Girl, all the kind of eclectic kind of people, and he just loves music. And it was, for me, in a way, he's one of my favorite guys just because he loves music, he's passionate, and he just doesn't he's not a sycophant to the artist or whatever. He just says, what he feels. If he loves the voice, we both mutually were celebrating when he signed Liz Fraser from the Cocktail Twins. It was
Oh,
like
okay.
hallelujah, because he thinks she's got one of the best voices in the
Oh, she's
country.
great.
There you go. Yeah, I think she has. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned them because I just reached out to Robin. I'm trying to get Robin on the show.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
I haven't
how's
heard
that going?
back, so I haven't
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
back. Fingers
Maybe
crossed.
sometimes perseverance when people are in the right headspace.
Yeah,
Just like
exactly.
today, I could never have told you 3 days ago, I'm going through this mangler of experience of losing my house keys, my car keys.
Right.
A cat that wakes us up at 4 a.m. after a gig when I thought I was going to relax. Anyway, it's life, yeah?
Yeah, life. Yeah, I had a case of insomnia last night and got like 2 hours of sleep. So I mean, it's like it changed. It's like everything
Yeah,
is
you've got
thrown
to
at
kind of
you. You
roll with
have
the
to
changes. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. You got to roll with it. It's life. But and you mentioned like when you hear some of these songs and it brings you back, to a certain moment. That's what music does. I mean, you hear a song and you remember where you were, a certain
Yeah.
memory or something like that. More so than like movies or television. It's like music. You have like a 3 to 4
It
minute
just stops you
memory.
in that place.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it around and ask you for a song that does that to you, and where does it place you? I'm so interested in how it works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I could have my wedding song with my wife, like
Which is?
which is well, we agreed to it. She wanted it more than I did, is Chicago's You're the Inspiration. So I used to make way back when dating myself, and you probably know these well. You made mixtapes on
Yeah,
cassettes,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you did that either off radio or CD, and that was always the first one I put on for my wife. So it was
Nice,
kind of
nice.
like our, connection. But you hear songs like it's really popular now because of Stranger Things. Is like Kate Bush is running up that hill,
Do all that, yeah. And the
and it's
series.
like it's such a great song, and it's like it just brings. And I loved it from like 40 years ago when it first came
Yeah,
out.
yeah, it puts you in a state of suspended disbelief or belief or something. I still remember with one of those Kate Bush albums when I had a flat in London and having a bath and having that in the background. It had woman's work. And a
Oh
friend
yeah,
of mine,
oh,
a drummer that's been playing with King Crimson
yeah,
guy, was saying that's one of his favorite songs, woman's work, just with the piano. And it's just like,
yeah,
you're just sent somewhere else, aren't you?
yeah.
Suspension from
Right.
the terror of being alive in the 21st
I
century.
know. Or like the duo, the duet between her and Peter Gabriel. Don't Give Up is
It's
so
so
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's funny you're saying that because we're going to Peter Gabriel's studio next week
Okay.
I've got a new band together called Dreamadelica. And
Yeah.
there's a girl called Leah that's singing, and I'm taking her down with her African boyfriend, and we're going down for a few hours, take a bit of social media, do a little bit of recording. I'm going to check out the grand piano to see if I want to do a solo album there. And the
Okay.
engineer is Peter Gabriel's main engineer. He was 2 years younger than me at school, which is amazing.
Okay. Did you
So
know him?
it's nice to have that kind of
Yeah.
contact as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that album, I mean, Nick and you Pageant got Jerry Morotto, and there was
Right.
another guy called Larry Fast from the Peter Gabriel album. We're playing on our second album.
Okay.
So Jerry Morotto was the drummer of Peter
Oh
Gabriel.
yeah.
So
It's
so
funny. Yeah.
that was wonderful to do, as you can imagine.
Right.
Down
Yeah.
studio. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've been in. Actually, funny you mentioned Jerry. I've been in contact with him trying to get him on.
You're not.
I tried because it was funny on his website. It was like he had
Yeah.
his telephone number, so I texted him.
Yeah.
2 minutes later, he texted me back. It's like, sure, absolutely, Noel. We just haven't been able to like find a mutual
Yeah,
time,
he's,
but
he's, he's
he's
a sweet guy.
busy.
He's got his own studio now, and I saw he's still doing some great stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, and he's worked with
yeah,
everybody. He's such
yeah.
an amazing drummer.
It's
So I,
cool.
I can't wait to
Very
hear some
cool.
of the stories because I wanted to
You
bring
have a
up
lot. You'll have
working
a
with you.
lot. He's an
Yeah,
amusing gentleman. Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And you guys, I mean, I'm kind of jumping around here, but like Paul Carrick played piano for you guys, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, Ace, how long has this been going on? I
Yeah,
mean, talking about memories, that takes me right back to school. You
right.
know, that one and Little Wing by Hendrix. Because I had a mixtape for myself, I think, Space Oddity and
Okay.
that 10cc track, I'm Not in Love.
Oh yeah,
Unsurpassed. Just
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, I had Kevin Godley on a few years ago, and
Yeah,
just like I mean, but his career, because you mentioned Kate Bush and Peter Gabriel, he directed that video, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's just like it's just funny how things come full circle.
And then there's also, I guess you don't know the British thing of the comic strip, but there's a director called Peter, I've forgotten what, not Nicholson, there's another guy. And I was introduced to him, and he produced that one of Kate Bush in the Wood, like when
Oh,
she's talking about James Joyce's song, you probably know.
okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's absolutely beautiful. Just absolutely
Yeah,
gorgeous.
no,
I have
she's
to remember what it is. Yeah.
yeah.
It's
I just
amazing.
wish, yeah, that she came over here and toured. You know, that she, you know,
Yeah, I think
fear
she
of
didn't like
flying.
flying that
Yeah, she
much.
didn't like flying. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm glad she finally got her to,
But it's wonderful
do.
that Stranger Things just came back. I thought that was a real blessing for everybody. It's after COVID, and I just thought that series just fantastic. And I love the fact that the two guys that did the compositions used electronics and synths and mixed it
Yeah,
up. And then there was obviously some retro kind of 80s tracks and stuff. It was
yeah.
great for all of us, really, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because sometimes I wonder, I don't know about your awards, but we had the Brit Awards recently, and there's a girl called Ray that's won just about every award. But then there was also Kylie Minogue, and
Okay.
some of the dancing was like kind of a Picasso painting gone wrong. You know, like some of the way
Yeah.
people were dressed up, just like
Right.
what, and they were doing these kind of. Well, I don't know if I could even call it dance, but I just say it was movement.
Yeah. Right. It's funny because like I have a 14-year-old daughter, and you know, obviously a 14-year-old girl, her favorite
Yeah,
artist is naturally Taylor Swift. And not knowing anything really about her beforehand, knew she was a huge artist and you know, maybe one or two songs. And then now I know everything because of my daughter plays it all the time. And it's like she's really, really good. You know,
there's a
think
track
of
called Cardigans that I heard in
yeah,
COVID, and I love that and the video. I show it to friends, and I just
right.
go, "This is art." You know,
Yeah.
forget about her being some pop phenomenon. This is absolutely beautiful. Yeah,
Exactly. And it's not like a certain artist where there's like 10 people writing a song for her.
yeah,
Everything is hers. And it's just like
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
authentic and
Exactly. No,
it's
no, no.
great.
She's got a lot of depth, and thank goodness for her being outspoken and you know, kind of yeah,
Yeah.
an illuminator.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, a
Yeah. So
lighthouse.
yeah. So I know like you and Nick wrote the majority of the songs for the band. So how old were you when you first when you first wrote your very first song?
My first song.
Yeah.
I'd say I was about 14, yeah, and
Okay.
it was based on Ralph McTell's Streets of London. It's pretty awful, probably looking back, but obviously it had a kind of social comment about it. I was obviously socially aware in a way, you know, like homeless people and whatever, thinking about that. Yeah.
Right. And the age when your first song got like released that you wrote?
Let's think. I guess that's with the Dream Academy is like Life
Okay.
and All the Time. I mean, that's not a bad start, is it? Your first
Yeah,
single.
it's a pretty good
It's
one.
a good start. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. And like, well, we'll talk about that song now because you mentioned, and it's so iconic, and just the lyrics are just beautiful. Everything about the song is just like perfect. I think it's like a perfect '80s song.
The Salvation Army band played, and the children drank the lemonade, and the morning lasted all day, all day. And through an open window came, like Sinatra in a younger day, pushing the town away. Life in a northern town, sat on a stony ground, and he took a cigarette out, and everyone else came down to listen. He said in winter 1963, it felt like the world would freeze, with John F. Kennedy and the Beatles. Life in a northern town. All the work shut down. Evening turned to rain. Watch the water roll down the drain as we followed him down to the station. train rolled out of sight. Bye, bye. Laughing and golden time. Where you gone? Till the world shut down. Laughing and golden time.
And I don't mean like 80s, just, I mean, because it was released in the 80s. I mean, it's still relevant today. I mean,
Sort of
think about
perennial.
it.
I know. I get cab drivers when I meet them, and it's like they've got the excitement, and they reinvigorate my excitement. And when I was a gig recently, there was a guy that I met, and when he knew about that song, he said, "It's weird, that takes me right back to the 80s." And I think that is another weird condition of certain tracks and music, when it can just transport you through the time barrier. I think that's what Running Up That Hill does. What's the word about Don't Give Up, Peter Gabriel? As soon as it seems to freeze time, and then you're in that space, aren't you? Like in a lift or something.
Yeah,
And then,
exactly.
then it stops, and you're out of the hypnosis, and maybe you want to put it on again.
Yeah, like I have a few songs where I call like "Don't Leave the Car" song. Like if you're driving somewhere,
I like it.
and you get wherever you're going, and the song's still playing, it's like, even though you've heard it 9 million times, I'm not leaving the car until I finish the song, you know. And like, you know, "Don't Give Up" is one of them, and actually "Life in the Northern Town" is on there too. You know,
Well, it's just I wonder if you say that. Sometimes I have this. Not, I was going to say realism, but I guess it's the authenticity as well as the kind of colors. I'm saying that I'm quite visual. I always sort of see that in terms of colors. And when we were writing it together, I was saying to Nick that we'd like different scenes, like in a film, for each verse, and that this one is the 60s, and so hence the Beatles and JFK. So we were deliberately painting scenes between us, like conceptualizing about that. Yeah.
Did you guys take like verses, like you wrote one and he wrote one, or just
it was more my conceptual input of saying, why don't we do this about the Beatles and whatever, and then Nick would run with that. And initially the song was called "The Morning Last All Day." You know, it took ages before Nick started working with Paul Simon that he kind of maybe gave him input and said, well, actually it's got to be a bit more set in a place, you know, or a suggestion of a place rather than some ethereal. But I always loved Nick's line, "The morning lasts all day." That's still such a nice thought. It's almost we all wish when we're in a good frame of mind that time would last longer, and somehow it doesn't. And then the things that you don't want to do seem to be there forever.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Time is undefeated. You know.
Good lines. You're going to be writing some songs yourself soon.
I should.
I want two great things.
I should. I mean, I can't sing them.
You
but
should
I
write
guess
these things down. Absolutely.
I should. I really should. Yeah.
Time is undefeated. It's undefeated. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks. Now, when you guys were writing it, did you know that it was going to be like a timeless classic?
I had some weird kind of belief system, and I think Nick at one point thanked me for not going to India to see his girlfriend at the time. And I said, Nick, we must finish this. So I remember him when we got awarded for an Ivor Novella, he reminded me of that. And at the time, I had a girlfriend that was quite religious, and we went to a Catholic church. And I was praying in my soul that we would have some universal impact. And so I feel, one of my wishes has been achieved.
Right. Yeah.
And in a way that I could never have imagined.
Yeah. Right. No, absolutely. And how did you guys bring Kate aboard?
Nick came across Kate. Yeah, we both thought that she had, that 60s kind of vibe, a little bit like Marianne Faithfull. And the funny thing is, Kate did actually play with Marianne Faithfull.
Oh wow. Okay.
So Kate was like a younger, version. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, like when you guys obviously broke through there, did you appreciate kind of the comparisons to like being a 60s artist or no?
Sorry, whose comparison?
Like, I mean, because I've seen a couple interviews, when you guys were touring in the States and stuff like that, that everyone really compared you to like being like a 60s act because of the song.
Which 60s act? I'm intrigued now, because we used to go on about the 60s a lot, but was there a particular 60s act or?
No, it was kind of very broad based.
Yeah, maybe it's because we were into psychedelics, and I played with Nick in the band called The Act, and we were going quite psychedelic. And obviously, having Mark Gilmore, David Gilmour's brother, in the band, and then being around David Gilmour, I mean, I'm sure Nick would agree that, we loved the Floyd along with Nick loving Dylan, etc. So I remember listening to all those things like Medal and That's a Mother and all that kind of stuff, So that the whole, I guess our psychology in our naive way was more Love and Peace and the kind of Beatles. We were informed by them, and now obviously we've had Oasis that have, tried to hijack the Beatles or whatever. But the Beatles are the Beatles, and I think there's so many people on this planet that attest to the greatness of what they disseminated for the rest of us.
I mean,
the legacy, the Bible of popular music, really.
Right. They're probably the biggest biggest job creators in the
Very
arts.
good. There you go again. I love that.
Right.
We were actually also asked about how we felt about the Monkees. And of course we love I'm a Believer and stuff, but then again they were influenced by the Beatles, weren't they? In the early 80s, I think the Monkees were going on tour and were asked about how we feel about it. But I mean, so sort of blessed to have loved the group so much and been so informed, because when you asked me about songwriting, I mean, I think first time I heard I Want to Hold Your Hand or something like that, going to a local pub to get some crisps and the off license for my mother, and I heard the harmonies and I was just like, that just changed me. Like, all my atoms have got rearranged. Like, how can I get involved in that?
I mean, like looking back now, it just sounds so simple, but it sounds so perfect.
And I was in the kitchen with my friend Leah, who's like working with me at the moment, and another girl, Caroline, that was doing backing vocals, and they were talking about a song called Girl, and they were singing that a cappella in the kitchen together. And I was thinking, this is amazing. They're in early 30s, like one of them, 123. And then I said, have you heard this song, This Boy? I said, this is even better than Girl by the Beatles. They listen, they're going, wow. And I'm just going, isn't this amazing? Just like these records of the early 60s, I guess. And they're having this impact now, in this time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you guys covered Love on the third album by John Lennon.
Yeah, that's a funny story.
Love is real. Real is love. Love is feeling. Feeling love. Love is wanting to be loved. Love is touch. Touch is love. Love is reaching. Reaching love. Love is asking to be loved. Love is you. You and me. Love is no way we can be. Love is free. Free is love. Love is living. Living love.
A friend of mine, Simon Tyrrell, had introduced me to polystyrene from X-Ray Specs, which is a bit of a world away from our normal classical kind of harmonic sort of music. But polystyrene, bless her soul, she's not alive anymore. But initially, I was going to do it with her, and she sang it, and it was very. She was into Harry Krishna, it was very earnest. And then it was like a combination of working on it, and we were working on David Gilmour's boat, Astoria, and so I was like allowed to produce that track with my friend. And we were using that kind of Amen Corner kind of beat and contemporizing things, really sort of moving. But we had a wonderful time in India. All of us went to India as a result and recorded the video, 3 weeks out there.
Right.
One of Madonna's dancers' boyfriends, and a guy called Tarzim, I think, who's a big filmmaker that did all those REM Losing My Religion videos.
Okay.
We were convinced there was outtakes that he was doing that probably went into the REM, etc. But it was an amazing, unforgettable experience, yeah. And just the words. I mean, the original is very endearing, and so yeah, it was a blessing to do that, a lovely thing to do, because that was, I guess, Nick and my ideology, really, that we love John Lennon, we love the Beatles, we earnestly believe in, dare I say it, peace in these times.
I know, it's crazy. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you set out to cover like a Lennon or a Beatles song, is there added pressure to kind of live up to their like legacy?
I think the only pressure is on ourselves. I think that's with all artists, isn't it? That when it's good, and when it's just about there. I think for yourself personally, whether it has commercial sales or not, if you feel it's touching if it touches yourself, it's probably touching others. Yeah.
Right.
Unless you're kind of like in some other sort of reality.
Exactly.
on the spectrum or half mad. But normally, I think you can tell when you're emotionally affected by something, and it's probably, if it's affecting you, it's going to affect others.
Right. Yeah. Unless you're hollow inside, but that's not
hollow inside. Another lyric.
I know. I gotta start writing this stuff down.
I think you seriously.
Yeah. You feel free to take any of these.
Pick up a guitar now.
Yeah. Yeah. I have one downstairs.
Well, there you go.
I don't know how to play it, but I gotta learn.
It's just a great title, because I was talking to my friend Aidan about, he's got like a reggae band, and I'm just saying, it's really important to kind of get the chorus in place. I mean, I think Sting likes to do that. Start with the chorus, start with the concept, and then it's like writing a novel backwards, where you know who done it.
Right.
Hollow inside, fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you have to be in a certain mindset to write a song? And like, is it like easier to write from despair?
It's waves. It's waves. Your life and your art are combined. And I think when you're in a state of either reverie or incredible sensitivity or mourning or grief, I think there's kind of deep feelings and channeling. I mean, some of the great songwriters, like Paul Simon, says that they're in the air, and he picks them out of the air. And I've been through a process in the last 2 or 3 months where I'm channeling, like I'm waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I'm at the piano now, and I'm making noises, and I'm thinking about lyrics, and it's like, does it have to be this time? Okay, I love it. I love the fact that I'm feeling like a channel. And then you can have other times when you feel blocked, or maybe your everyday life is just feeling hard, and you're not being given the space, or you're not giving yourself the space to accept.
Yeah, right. Is it easier for you to write in a state of happiness, or like depression?
I think so. I mean, on my last birthday, I decided to go that there's only so many, as you were saying about time is undefeated, I thought there's only so many years left, and that I felt the pain of the wars that are going on at the moment, in Ukraine and COVID. The world has been through such a lot of pain, and there's a lot of misunderstanding and divisionism. And I thought from now on, it's going to be joy if I can help it. If I break a leg, then it's like, okay, I broke that leg, but I'm going to try joy.
Yeah.
And I try to reset myself. And it's funny because since that November, the time that I almost got dismantled was this weekend, because everything's coming at me. The cat, the keys, it's like. But then at the same time, I thought, we've just done a concert for Gaza. We've raised £2,000. And the misery out there is nothing compared to my little humble first world problems.
Yeah, exactly. You have to think about like what's going on in your life. It's like, I can deal with it. It's nothing major,
Yeah. reset button.
Yeah.
Don't sort of feel sorry for yourself.
Right. Totally. Yeah. So David Gilmour, I mean, obviously legendary artist with Pink Floyd. Did he, I mean, I know you guys worked with his brother. Did he approach you or do you approach him to produce the album?
Nick, funny enough, like the whole story is that I was living in Southgate, and I was sort of not regretting, but feeling that I'd lost the art college that I'd been at and feeling like a bit like a fish out of water in London in the early 80s. It was a bit destitute with Thatcher coming in and all this kind of capitalism. And I'd be trying to recreate an art college, I guess, with musicians coming around to my sitting room, harp players, guitar players, like just keep wheeling them in. And then I was also answering the Melody Maker, putting coins in this phone box to see, you know, who was up to things. And one of the interviews was for Talk actually, but I didn't go, you know, which is amazing because I love Talk.
Yeah.
And then one of the auditions on one day, there was 3 auditions and I'd done 2 and I was pretty hungry, didn't have any money. I thought I'd go back home, get something cooked by my girlfriend of the few vegetables we had. And I think we called it winter pie we'd make. And then I went to this audition at London Bridge. And when I saw Nick playing with a guy called Derek on drums, who's actually a cousin of the guy that played Kenny Jones, that played with The Who and stuff like that.
Okay.
I just thought, wow, this is a nice little band and they've got really good harmonies and they're pretty sorted. And then I didn't hear anything for a while. And then I eventually realized that Nick had been on holiday with David Gilmour in Greece on an island because his girlfriend knew Dave.
Okay.
So there was a kind of history. Yeah. And then I realized, you know, there was David Gilmour's brother. And then eventually we went down to Henley and we'd be like with our band, The Act, that we'd been to Spain with and stuff. And we were kind of like jamming, experimenting. And then we started doing demos. And it was like a kind of dream come true, really, to have such a mentor and such a guide. And I'd look across like his studio. He had a live room with Hammond, and I'd had a Hammond at college, so I could jam with, you know, some of his session musicians, like a drummer that was really, you know, sort of world famous and stuff like that. And I looked across the room, and there was just all these Marshall stacks stacked up to the ceiling, like some sort of god. You know, you just thought, this is unbelievable. And then he had his own guitar collection, about 130 guitars, and he was really sort of humble and the best person we could have been around, an empath, and you know, his guidance was exactly what Nick and I kind of needed. Yeah.
Was there any not want to say pushback, but resistance, or was it like smooth like production?
When you say smooth production, Life in Northern Town took quite a few studios in and out. You know, we worked with Martin Russian that worked with the Human League, and there was a guy called Gary Langham who worked with Trevor Horn that did Only Below the Heart and stuff. Yeah. So Gary did some great work. You know, there was a new technology coming out as well. So we must have taken over 6 months to make Life in Northern Town, the production-wise, because there was these new toys like the Synclavier and the samplers, and so we had to kind of go through those and find the kind of sounds. And I had like a Roland GX 3P and a string synthesizer. So and then Dave had like Linden drum machines, and he had Peter Gabriel's Prophet 5 that had the warm textures, which I love, and a really souped up Fender Rhodes. I used to own one of them. So I mean that was the excitement of that time. Now I don't know if you can see all the rubbish in my studio,
right?
You know, the hardware, but then I've got loads of software, and it's almost, in a way, we're kind of spoilt for sounds. You know, then we were restricted, and that was a kind of blessing as well. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Do you appreciate the technology now?
I love it. I mean, I think that's what keeps me young at heart. You know, because every day that feels like there's some other new bit of software that's completing my dreams. I'm going, oh my God, this is so, how many more lives do I need to kind of get through these ideas? Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. The first album has so many amazing songs besides Life in Northern Town. I mean, The Love Parade, which I absolutely love that song. And, you know, it did pretty decent in the States.
To the one I love, this is dedicated to the one I love. June to September, the love parades out on the street where you live, and you know it's just a matter of time before it takes over. They've been married for so many years now. Young love serenade goes sweet, nothing in her ear. They're lonely together when they're not apart. It feels like she's holding on to someone else in the dark. Your world back on, 'cause she's otherwise engaged. Married to someone, whoa. The love parade goes on, even when you're gone. It'll go on forever. The love parade, the love parade, only imagination.
Yeah. I think it got into the top 30, didn't it?
Yeah. So you know, you don't have...
and we did the demo with Paul O'Duffy I was telling you about. So
Okay.
The John Barry connection. He had
Right.
this kind of warmth and sort of professionalism in production. Yeah. It's almost like a friend of mine, Andy Fryer, who was the Warner Chappell engineer for about 20 years. I said I thought I had some sort of synesthesia of seeing music in color. So he asked me, what are the lower kind of notes? And I said red. And he said, that's funny. I had an engineer that mixed in color rather, because he was seeing
Okay.
colors. And he said the same.
Wow.
He sort of red for the bass. And so,
Right.
you know, I see days of the week in different colors and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it's a bit of it's a weird kind of gift. I
Yeah.
think the guy that did Happy said that he's complete synesthete. You know, he sees it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Pharrell Williams, yeah.
What's his name again?
Pharrell Williams.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
was talking about with another girl about this synesthesia. So I take it for granted, but I guess I'm blessed, you know, and maybe that's part of maybe what works with Nick with the lyrics and the kind of melodies, that I could create these colors that were appropriate around. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're recording this on a Monday. So what color would you consider Monday to be?
Monday's yellow.
Okay.
No other extra. Thursday's blue, Friday's red. Yeah. Wednesday's green. Yeah.
Okay. And Tuesday? I always feel
Tuesday is a kind of orangey color.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a sort of deeper version of it.
Yeah.
And in the orchestra, I get it with instruments as well.
Yeah.
It's just like weird clarinets are blue,
Right.
trumpets are yellow.
Okay. Yeah.
Very strange.
I always feel Tuesday doesn't have a feel. Every other day does. Tuesday.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, because Monday is kind of
Saturdays
like...
are kind of grey for me, but maybe it's also to do with reality. When I was at boarding school, there'd always be the football and people sort of chanting. You know, when there's that endless chanting, like people are sort of not that happy.
Yeah, right.
You know, this kind of I don't know. Yeah, Saturday's very kind of my grey day really. Sundays are kind of sort of religious blue, I suppose, if I had to describe it. Yeah.
Right.
But so I guess it's also cultural conditioning as well.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I mean, yeah, I could probably bore your listeners to death. That, you know, when I was doing my doctorate, I was looking at memory, and as we all sort of perceive reality through different senses. Most of us are visual, 60%, but some are oral and they remember conversations of people, or they're kinesthetic by the touch of things, or etc. So it's so interesting that we're all on this planet.
Yeah.
But some of us are really sensing reality in a different kind of way. You know, it's quite interesting. And obviously, we have language as a connection, but some people, I've noticed with a lot of art students that they're kind of, I was going to say almost inarticulate. They're articulate through the visuals way, but they don't have the conversation, and I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
If you put yourself in that category, where would you be?
I would
Are you
probably
visual? Your
say,
eyes went somewhere just then.
I would say visually.
Yeah, yeah, I saw
Yeah.
your eyes
Yeah.
suddenly, like recalling visually. Yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely. Because I mean, like auto, like orally, it's yeah, but it feels like people are having less and less conversations now with technology. And because you're reading text and email, so it's visually
yeah,
you're reading the conversation rather than listening to it.
yeah, yeah. I find that difficult sometimes. I just think, why do I want to send 10 text messages? I can just pick up the phone and speak to you. And I can
Yeah.
get so much more with the tonality of your voice going up and down. Are you happy? Are you sad? Do you
Right.
like that idea? In a text, it's all kind of like, ooh, it's Agatha Christie.
Exactly, and it's really no gray area when you read like an email or text. It's just like
Yeah,
very, black and white. And
yeah,
it's,
yeah, yeah.
it's like you something can't get the tone of it, or you kind of, take it
Or
as
you,
a
or you can have a
meaning.
smiley emoji, either
Yeah,
big smile or the little
exactly.
tears. It's like
Right.
kind of very simple thinking. Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
yeah.
Or
Are
yeah.
you happy or sad? No,
Yeah.
no other area. No
Yeah.
area.
Or they'll put or they'll throw the poop emoji or something like that in there. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So with the first album and you guys came over to the States, was that your first trip to America?
It was, and it was amazing because, my naive perception in England of America was New York and kind of
Mm,
gangsters and police and
right.
cowboys and all that sort of stuff. And I still remember coming across that main bridge from JFK. What is that main bridge that you come into New York on? You probably know, or maybe you don't.
Well, I'm trying
From the airport.
from the airport. I
Mm.
think it's not the 59th Street Bridge. Queensboro Bridge. I'm trying to think going
I
that
mean,
way.
you can
Yeah,
cut
I
this
know.
bit, it doesn't
Or
matter.
yeah, or you can go
But I
like the
still remember
tunnel.
that
Yeah.
moment of coming across that bridge and seeing a homeless person. And in London and England at that time we hadn't, and then eventually we had them on the street. But I felt kind of weird that I was living in my dream, and Nick was on the phone, I think, to Paul Simon or something. The phone in the limo. It's like, wow, that's amazing
Yeah.
because the technology wasn't around. And then I'm seeing a homeless person. I'm thinking, this is extreme.
Yeah.
No, but the whole thing coming to New York and stuff. I mean, it's just fabulous. And when we did one of those promotional tours, which was 10 days, I think, and we were in 3 places. We woke up in Denver with hangovers because it's quite high, even though we'd hardly
Yeah.
drunk anything.
Altitude.
Then
Yeah.
we flew to Portland to do a press thing at lunch, and then we went to San Francisco in the evening. And then we were like little kind of sleepy bunnies on Golden Bridge because we were so tired from the whole
Yeah.
day that we didn't actually see it. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. You just saw different radio
The
stations.
next day was LA. It's
Oh,
like,
okay.
let's go, let's go.
Yeah.
And then about a few days later, we were back in New York, and it was winter. And Nick had prepared to me to get this kind of Bob Marley kind of Canadian kind of coat that was in Bob Marley colours, and it was
Yeah.
really served me well because before we were almost in shorts.
Right.
So
Exactly.
quite extreme.
Yeah. And I'm sure you got sick as a result of the weather changing, right?
I think I could survive then. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
about-
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. How was performing on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, that was quite an experience. I mean, I buried myself in keyboards so they could hardly see me or in that, but I was treated to I think it was a lovely lady called Leah. I don't know how old she was at the time, but she was Hunter Thompson's ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
And she was the producer and executive of Saturday Night Live. So she took me in a limo around the place for the night. And I think my mum slept in my bed. So I was up most of the night. And it was really nice to kind of, in that time, I think we met the Cult. There was Ian Ashbridge. We met them before. And it was funny, like a year later, because we toured in Spain. I think we'd been with the guitar player, whatever. And it was weird what a year on the road had done to them. Turned them into real men, rugged, kind of like, rock and roll. Whereas we were kind of like the softies, with our kind of, oh, here we are, Being a kind of luxurious traveling by plane everywhere rather than like long journeys on coaches, kind of,
Yeah.
They were the rugged real men, and we were kind of, failures.
Right, exactly. Yeah. They're the broken down vans and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I love the second album, but you guys went in a different path with producers. You got Padgham, who worked with Phil Collins, Gilbert Gabriel, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Was the reason why? Because was David kind of preoccupied
I
with
guess
Floyd?
looking back, I remember like David done his solo album, and it looked like there was a lot of stuff going on with the Floyd at the time. So he was probably building his new version of the Floyd, wasn't he, at the time? I guess.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
came out with their album the same year he came
Yeah.
out with the second
Yeah,
album.
yeah.
So yeah.
So the difference was that I personally really missed having a musician involved in the production, because Hugh Pagan's got fantastic engineering skills and stuff,
Yeah.
but I felt that quiet guidance, I missed that. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, they always say like you have like your whole life to write your first album, but like
That's
6
what
months.
Jamie Mitchell said. Exactly.
Yeah.
And with all the promotion and everything that we were doing, that's exactly what happened. Is that you kind of rushed into it.
Yeah.
In fact, Jeff Travers, the leader of Rough Trade, the guru, was telling me when I had other deals with him that PM Dawn had 2 albums in the can before they went out. And now, in retrospect, if someone
That's
said,
smart.
"Look, make sure you got your 2 albums written,"
Yeah.
now I'd say that to any new band if they have the chance.
Yeah.
But now they're kind of lucky if they get a single out. I mean, there's an artist called Ray that spent 6 years with a major company. I don't know if it's Polygram or Polydor, and they wouldn't let her put an album out. They just said, "Let's see how your singles go." And then she left them, and now she's just got 6 Brits because she's allowed to do what she wants. So you can see the repressive nature of of the way the industry's gone. And I guess now, I mean, they're lucky to get an album out, aren't they? I mean, Nick was saying that we were blessed because Warner's had the heritage of Frank Sinatra's ideology of United Artists, where you could make 3 albums. Like there was an investment in that situation.
Right.
So we're ever grateful to Frank and Warner's, basically.
Yeah, right. Because now you can just have an artist; they can just put their own stuff up on, say, Spotify,
And that's
YouTube.
good and bad. I mean,
Yeah,
it means that you've got mass mediocrity that you've got to wade through, and then you've got also some wonderful kind of eclectic things that might not see the light of day or are wonderful.
Yeah.
And I saw that starting to happen with MySpace. I think they were saying there's like 3 million records a day, but now a week. No, sorry, it's on Spotify or released and at the moment I think it's at least 250,000 Spotify releases every day.
Yeah.
Which is just mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more than half get lost in the shuffle, and you can't find me. You're lucky enough if you finish an album where they'll just suggest something for you that you haven't heard already, and if you're lucky enough, you might like it, and then
and then there's the kind of there's the additional kind of luxury or blessing possibly of sync, which happened to Kate Bush. But now everybody in the industry kind of knows that sync is the way, and then you get all of these kind of arbitrators, some maybe cowboys saying, "Hey, we can get you money through sync. Just register on our course for £2,000 and we can make you heroes." So everyone's like running after that ball. But that's the music industry. It's always reinventing itself, and then there's AI as well, which is fascinating. I mean, I mean, that's another journey that we're just about to enter into.
Yeah, I mean, it's good and bad. I mean, right now I feel that the negatives kind of outweigh the positives, and it's kind of like dangerous.
It's the way that Spotify has kind of made it seem like it was a good deal when actually we've sort of shed the idea that you can make a CD and make some money out of living your recordings. It's almost become worthless recordings. That's what they said halfway in about 2010. Professors said it's devalued, and generation don't appreciate the work. I mean, I worked out that you get something like 8 pence a day from your tracks, which is, you can't live on that.
No. Right. I mean,
you can't even buy a postage stamp in England now. It's about £1.20. So you couldn't even post a letter to your friends. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I love Spotify. I think Spotify is great, but I'm also a physical CD, vinyl.
Well, it's great. It's great that you back it. I mean, that's what we need. And there seems to be a proliferation of people buying more CDs, which is great. 11% or something. And the same thing with vinyl. That's kind of gone out. And it seems, maybe you can tell me, a lot of people seem to buy vinyl and don't have record players, which is quite funny.
Because I had a whole collection that it was at my mom's house. I finally brought over, and I'm like, I couldn't play it, so I went out, and I didn't even have a CD player either. And I have thousands and thousands of CDs. I'm like, all right.
I know. I've still got that.
I know.
Have you bought one recently now? Yeah.
The last CD I bought was your box set.
Oh, sorry, I meant the physical player to play the CDs.
Yeah, I bought like a 5-in-1 that has a cassette, tape player, the record player, everything like that. So, and I bought a bunch of vinyls too. But now it's like triple the price of when now compared to when I used to
Are
buy
you
them.
talking about vinyl?
Vinyl, yeah.
Yeah, vinyl's crazy, isn't it? It's at least
Yeah.
30 quid or something like that. I know. And it's concerts as well. Was it 500 quid to go and see the Springsteen or something? And concerts are just kind of crazy that, 250 pounds to go and see somebody.
Yeah. I just tried.
That's that little holiday in Europe
Yeah,
or something.
exactly.
It's like
I just tried
traveling.
getting Pearl Jam tickets, and
Yeah,
you had to like register for a chance to buy them. And if you're
yeah.
lucky enough, they select you, and then you can buy them. But this time I
I know
went.
someone was just selling, a friend of mine, he said, "Oh, are you interested?" He obviously sent mailed out to friends. I've got a ticket for Glastonbury, £320. And I thought,
Right.
I'm not sure if I want to go. I
Yeah.
mean, number one, it wasn't just the price. It's you're going to be in a field that's a bit like a zoo with all the
Yeah.
security, all
Right.
the kind the lack of benefits of being in the city with all these people
Exactly.
trying to get some water, trying to go to the
Yeah.
loo, trying to find somewhere to sleep, trying to have a bit of peace when you do want to go to sleep.
Right.
Do I want to pay for that? I
Yeah.
don't
It's like,
think so.
nah, no thanks. Yeah. Just get me a nice hotel for that amount, and I'll just put on like music and listen to it in the hotel room,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Because it's funny. I just watched it was a documentary about Woodstock '99, and it was just like that, where it was a complete shit show where people would get there and
What,
things.
they did the replica in 1999, did they?
Yeah, they did, because they did like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
25th anniversary in '94,
Yeah,
and then they figured they can make a lot more money now, made it
yeah,
more
of course.
commercial, and it
And
was
I'm glad that Glastonbury exists for
yeah,
a younger generation. It's like a kind of a museum or something, isn't it? And
yeah,
it's on the TV and transmitted. So I'm
right,
glad it exists. And I think Michael Avis, who set it up, literally, I said I
yeah,
almost I went to the first one.
okay,
So the ideology is great, isn't it? It used to be
yeah,
CND, anti-nuclear, and
right,
I think they give quite a lot of money away and stuff. But it's just a shame. I like smaller, kind of bit more personalized events, really, I think. Yeah.
yeah. You can get more, it's more intimate, and you feel like you're
Yeah.
closer to the artist. Now that they've had, because they've shown them on TV here, the like the '80s rewind festivals they have overseas.
Oh,
As,
do they? What
yeah,
do connected to Glastonbury, yeah?
I don't think it's Glastonbury. I forgot what
Oh,
it's.
they're called Rewind.
Yeah.
Not I think you said Eves, so I thought because that was
Oh no,
the
yeah, rewind. Yeah.
yeah, Rewind. Yeah, I've heard of Rewind. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have they approached you guys about kind of like
Yeah, we
rebranding?
were approached about 8 or 10 years ago, and we were meant to support the Human League, but it didn't happen. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But now with the box set out, is there any talk about you guys kind of thing?
I think it's going to be more recordings and stuff like that. That's my instinct. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Wait, any new music would be great. So that
Yeah, exactly. I'm actually hooking up with Nick and Kate in April, so every few months we're hooking up with each other. So
oh, that's
that's good
great.
news. Yeah.
That's good. Was it like after the third album when that basically was it an amicable split for you guys?
It wasn't like punch ups or anything like that. It was basically it was a difficult time because the last single I think we put out was Love, and it was at
Yeah.
a time I think when there was the Iraq War going on, and I think there was a radio ban on such ideas of like love and peace. So
Right.
that
Yeah.
so they didn't like the idea of like going love and peace. No, we've got lots more weapons to sell. So
Right. Yeah.
so that was kind of not so good. And I think naturally, the record company thought, well, we're not, the 90s was a real transition going into
Yeah.
kind of dance music and club music. And even on the second album, I became aware of they're talking about the urban kind of thing, urban music. I think something like 1991 or 1993 was the first time that you had 10 records in the top 10 that were black artists. So there was a kind of transition from our hippie ideology of,
Right.
being like Love or something like that, the
Yeah.
band, where it's fusion, to this kind of bit harder, more urban thing. But so then it was an economic thing as well, and we had like a hard time in England at the time with interest rates were like 15%.
Hmm.
So it was kind of survival. So how are you going to
Yeah.
make some money? So
Right.
I think we all had to think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
In our dream academy, it's like,
Yeah.
the dream bank? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because like
Yeah.
over here, it's probably at '91 is when like grunge started, like with Nirvana
Yeah.
and Pearl Jam and
Yeah.
all of that. And you mentioned like, like
There's PM Dawn
African-American.
that were very cool.
Yeah, PM Dawn was
I
huge.
love PM Dawn.
They were
I did a
so
record
good.
with one of those guys. I loved PM Dawn.
Okay,
I
yeah,
did. Yeah.
right. And then there was a perfect sample of Spandau Ballet song on there, and it was just it was perfect. And they got them involved too, which it wasn't like they blatantly stole it, and like played it. So it was good that they incorporated the band too as well.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. Now you had two songs in John Hughes movies, which I mean John Hughes, a legend. What's Plane, Trains, and Automobiles, which is one of my favorite movies. Parents Believe. They played the instrumental, and then covering the Smiths.
There's a funny story about that actually, because it's typical. When you're on the up, you're kind of like, oh no, I haven't got time for that, because I think I was aware of what the Ferris Bueller's. We'd watched that clip, I think.
Right.
But Trains, Planes, Automobiles, that clip. We were asked if we wanted to go down to the preview in the West End, and we said no, because we'd been down to the other one that was Sting in the audience and stuff, and Fighting on Cannibals. And we thought, not that interested. Yeah. And then I remember maybe a year or something later, I heard some music on the TV, and I was in Crouch End, and I thought, I quite like that. What's that? And I realised it was Trains, Planes, and a little bit of music, and I thought that's so funny. I was like a little sniffer dog going, what's that? That's interesting. Oh, it's something we did.
From you did, yeah.
That was a funny little moment, yeah.
Can you hear it? Can you hear the word? So with a little or no formal education, he taught himself to work. Would often steal the pain it took to rise up from the dirt. Desperation would disturb the millionaires.
how did like he become aware of you guys, like John Hughes?
Well, Tarquin Gotch was
Okay.
actually, knew him, and
Yeah.
I think he got a certain commission on one of the films with John Hughes, so they're quite friendly. In fact, on the second album, Tarquin Gotch was spending more time in America than in the UK. So
Okay.
he was like getting more involved in film, I think. Yeah.
Right. And then with the Smiths cover, please, please.
Yeah, Nick and I were such fans of the Smiths. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd had the Smiths glued to my head on one of those cassette players where everywhere I went in London in the tube, it was Smithsville. We're
Yeah.
totally. And I think just before we signed our record deal, I was, it was a split up situation. I was in a children's theatre company up in, where is it, in Scotland. I was traveling around the UK,
Yeah.
and heaven knows I'm miserable and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
great kind of 20s angst, if not teenage angst. Just
Yeah.
perfect kind of setting for us. So when Nick found that, now I'm flashing back, going into visual mode. It was just such a joy. In 2 days we recorded that in Dave Gilmour's studio down in Henley, and I think I had the Prophet 5. There was an emulator that I played the kind of choir sound on, and Kate was there, and with Dave. And it was probably one of the most enjoyable recording experiences I've had. It was just like we were a little family,
Right.
and I think Dave did a lot of the engineering on it. I think you might have had someone to help out a bit, but it's just a lovely time, special time to record that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's such a fantastic version of the song.
Good times for a change. Seems the luck I've had can make a good man turn bad. So please, 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 let me get what I want this time. Haven't had a dream in a long time. Seems the life I've had can make a good man bad. So for once in my life, let me get what I want. Lord knows it would be the first time. Lord knows it would be the first time. Haven't had a dream in a long time. Seems the life I've had can make a good man bad. So for once in my life, let me get what I want. Lord knows it would be the first time. Lord knows it would be the first time.
Did Morrissey ever reach out to you guys?
I was reading your mind actually, because I like to put it in interviews, and I even reminded the man himself, because it was always a little bit remote with people, wasn't he?
Yeah.
With his very, very articulate, sarcastic comments.
Yeah.
So Morrissey sent a postcard to Nick that said, "It's beautiful, Nick."
Oh, nice.
And I thought that was the highest honour. So
Yeah.
when we were at the Brit Awards in about 97 or something, I went up to Morrissey because he was there, and I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're the guy that said that our version of your track was beautiful."
Yeah.
Nick was like hanging back thinking, "God, the audacity of Gilbert." I thought if I approached him that way, he'd have no
Right.
retort, basically. It was the only way of
Yeah.
let's deal with it, Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And anytime he comes over here on tour, it's always like 50-50 whether he's going to cancel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done that a couple of times.
I mean, they've him and Johnny Morrow and the fact the whole band, they've left a wonderful legacy. I mean,
Yeah.
when I was in Poland, I think I read one of the books. It wasn't Morrissey's book. It was a book about Smiths and all their songs, and I was able to almost go back into that wonderful space of how joyful and how wonderful it was then. That I love Reel Around the Fountain.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a great track. 15 minutes with you and whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
that some you have to separate. You do artists from that art, don't you?
I
whatever
agree.
you know,
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just the way it is.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough doing this podcast. I interviewed Andy Rock a lot, in person.
Wow.
Yeah,
How
unfortunately he passed
lovely.
away recently, but
Yeah.
that was like such a treat, and that was like, I was like
Wow,
trying
could
not
I
to
hear that
freak out.
interview at some point? Could you put me?
I will send that to you. Yeah,
You said
yeah,
it. Thank
I
you.
will.
I really
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah,
Because it's
because
weird, because Jeff Travis asked me about the kind of rhythm section. At the time, I said I wasn't totally impressed with the drums, but now in retrospect, when I see that how important Andy was with the bass playing,
yeah,
I realized the drums had to be simple because he was doing so much with the melody.
right,
All makes
yeah,
sense now.
yeah. I always felt because he was kind of like the George Harrison. He was like kind of the quiet Beatle, and like he was like the quiet
Yeah.
Smith that you didn't really,
Yeah, amazing. I know.
yeah,
I'm hearing bits of his bass playing now in my head.
yeah,
Really
yeah,
more. Yeah.
yeah. What is your favorite Smith song?
Sorry,
What is your
favorite.
favorite Smith song?
Well, I really, really do like Reel Around the Fountain. I like Old House. Back to the Old House, and of course I like I'm Human. I want to be in love like everybody else does. You know that.
Oh yeah.
You know that one. It's a classic. What's it called again? That one.
Oh my, I'm drawing a blank now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I am the sun in the air.
yeah, I'm like,
I'm human. I want to be
yeah,
loved just like everybody else does. I
yeah.
mean,
People
that's
are gonna
fantastic.
scream it while listening to this, podcast. But mine is "There Is a Light That Never Goes Out."
I love that as well. I do,
Yeah.
and also the Crowded House guy doing a tour with Johnny Marr,
Oh
and he
yeah,
performs
Neil
it
Finn did
as
that.
one
Yeah,
as a CD. Have you ever seen that video?
yeah.
That
I have that CD. It's
I love
fantastic.
that. The
Yeah,
video is just lovely. It's lovely.
yeah,
Absolutely, no, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
yeah. Why am I drawing a blank on that song? This is gonna bug me now.
Yeah. Let's find it. We can
Yeah,
have a pause, can't we?
yeah. And I'm hearing the song in my head right now, and it's like it'll come to me. Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember where you were the first time you heard one of your songs on the radio?
No, that is a very, very difficult one because of the visual thing, and that's quite surprising. No, I don't. I
Okay.
think it might be in Southgate when on the radio. I think it must have been on the radio at home. Yeah,
Right.
but it was such a joyous moment. Yeah, very, very special. I mean, now everybody releases everything instantly on Spotify and everything.
Yeah.
But then the radio was the one, wasn't it? And you only got that little dose, and that immediately flashes back to me having a transistor stuck to my head when I was about 10. Of like,
Right.
because you could only hear the record maybe twice a week or 3 times a week with the pop shows. On
Yeah.
the Sunday there'd be the countdown of all your favorite songs. You'd almost wait the week to hear
Yeah.
the countdown of the top 30. It
Right.
was so special then, wasn't it? Or if you're in love with a song like 10 cc's I'm Not in Love, every time it arrived, it was like some mystical object that sort of filled the
Yeah.
air. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wonderful.
Because I have so many like cassette tapes of songs I just clear off the radio because you hear it. And it's like, oh, let me just record, whether it's like 5 seconds or a minute. It's just because now it's like, oh, I can just Spotify or like car radios. You can.
It's got devalued. It has sort of lost the mystery, hasn't it?
I agree. And I miss kind of like the chase of like you hear a song, but you don't know the name of it.
Reverence
Yeah.
for it. Yeah,
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like
But,
I would.
it's almost like you've just finished a song and then you've got a friend, oh, can you send it over to me? And before that was maybe 3 months down the line.
Exactly. Yeah.
Packaging and, going to the record company, getting the deal, getting the license to release it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, well, what? You don't want to send it over to me? Oh, what's wrong with you?
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah. Because now there's an app called Shazam. I don't know if you heard about this.
Yes,
yeah,
of course,
which is one of the most, I think, influential apps ever.
It's amazing. I love it.
Because half the time I'd be in a store and it's like, oh, the song was great, and like you try to remember the lyrics to kind of like go to the record store and ask somebody.
Especially when you've got 250, sort of thousand every day coming out. It's like, how can I find that? I'm like that in a coffee shop. I'm like Shazam. Or I terrorize the chef or the waiters. It's like, what is that? Write it down for me now.
Right, please. Yeah.
I'm going to lose that fish.
Right.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
I'll walk around the store holding the phone up because trying to get better reception,
Yes, exactly.
to
I
get
know, I
it,
know.
and people look
Oblivious
at
to
you.
everyone around you, thinking, who's
Yeah,
that?
well, yeah, exactly. Let me stay away from him.
As a matter of interest, have you seen Louder Milk? I recommended it to Kate in our bands. She loves it. Louder Milk.
No.
It's on Netflix. You will love it. It's about an ex-music critic that became an alcoholic, and then he runs one of those groups like in One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest. You know, when you've got
Okay.
those
Yeah.
12, and they're all kind of a bit dysfunctional. He's very rude and very funny. It's
Oh
brilliant.
wow.
Louder Milk. There's a
Okay.
guy, and I had to use Shazam. The guy that's a musician is Andy Snow from Canada that does the first series, and it's just
Okay.
lovely. It's
I'll
just
have to check it
ironic,
out.
funny. Louder Milk. I
Louder
highly,
Milk. Okay.
you
Yeah.
and everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've been kind of watching a lot of like music documentaries like lately.
Such as.
The last one I watched was about Milli Vanilli.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that for a while. That's very sad. Yeah.
Yeah, it was sad. They interviewed, the lone surviving guy. He was big into the documentary, and then they watched one about Run DMC,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but that
yeah,
it's amazing how influential they were, and with the Blondie thing and that whole thing, wasn't it, with the
yeah,
music, whole
yeah,
kind of just
right.
revolution, really.
Yeah, and then they did one about We Are the World. It was like they call it the greatest night in pop music, which is fantastic. I definitely recommend.
Oh, right, We Are the World.
Yeah.
So what's that about
It,
exactly?
it's on Netflix. It's about how they recorded that song. It
That
was
song, yeah. I think I
yeah,
started watching with Quincy and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, and it was like it was the same night as the Grammys, I think in 1985, and kind of Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson
yeah,
kind of spearheaded the whole thing. And
yeah,
it's fantastic how the fact they got all these artists in one spot
yeah. No,
to
I
do it.
know.
Yeah,
I think
without
it's
people
wonderful.
knowing about it too, because like this
Yeah,
before like social media or anything like that. But it was just
yeah. That's
it was
true. That's
it
true. Yeah.
was fantastic. But yeah, but what are you working on now?
That's so funny. Many things, and I guess you haven't got a link to my website, have you?
No,
So shall I send one, and
yeah,
shall
please,
I
that'd be great.
tell
Yeah,
people where we can check us out? So it's
definitely.
www.everdreamrecords.com, and basically, yeah, you'll see. I've been doing some gigs and a lot of recording, and as I was mentioning earlier, like very interested to sync music, getting music and film, etc. So there's a variety of things that I've got up there. There's one that I call Dreamadelica, which is kind of melodic and earnest as ever. And there's another one called the Heavenly Post, which is kind of an ambient kind of thing. There's another one called Moon Glider, which is a bit more kind of eclectic indie. And it's almost like I can't keep coming up with the new guises or names or whatever. It's a great way to kind of
Yeah,
be different personalities, I guess. So yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, and
quite a lot's going on.
okay, and some of the stuff I listen to on Spotify and piano for TV and
No,
film.
not on
No,
Spotify.
no, but you had something on there, right?
I might have in the past, but
Yeah.
basically I'm pressing up CDs myself. I've got
Okay.
some of Dreamadelica. We got it in the Rough Trade shop in New York and Bristol and stuff. And
Oh,
I
great.
just thought, I mean, personally, from my point of view, even though it's got the convenience of Spotify, we earn 0.1 pence.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if I spend 170 quid on a CD, I can get like 100 CDs, sell them at a tenner each, and there's real money there. And so
Yeah.
I end up giving a lot to my friends or to the music business. But even if I sell 30, I've still made more than being on Spotify for
Spotify.
the next 50
Yeah.
years.
Right.
so
Yeah.
so it's a
And
non-brainer. And then you have the satisfaction of the art,
of
and it's
course.
a personal thing. Here you are. Otherwise, when you say you can see me on Spotify, then you're competing with, I don't know, a billion people.
Yeah.
You're just this little twig
Exactly.
rather
Yeah.
than in your self-important CD, like
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
master of my destiny.
Right. And it's funny because like now I'm sure you do all of it yourself, the promotion and
You
everything
can
like
do a
that.
lot.
Whereas like
The
with Dream
cover
Academy,
design,
you
the
had like the
video.
backing of a whole like company.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And that's kind of nice, kind of across the industry. I've been working with a guy called David Knopfler, who's Mark Knopfler's brother, and he's got a
okay.
whole cottage industry. He's put about 20 CDs out. He's got his own little fan base,
Right.
etc.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I'm
Because
trying
you
to broaden his horizon a little bit, but
yeah. Because
maybe
because you do it now for love. I mean, you're not doing it for the money. Because
exactly, there is that, yeah. But then at the same time, there's a balance, because your love, you could just bankrupt yourself, because
yeah.
musicians, when I was in Poland, the guy was going, I'd been there in about 2006, and then he saw the death really of artists coming to his studio and stuff, and he said, it's funny, Gilbert, but people just do this because they love making music. They
Yeah.
keep doing it, it's
Right.
an innate thing. So it's a balance. So Since all the way back to the 70s, I actually remember making the definition in my head when I hitched up to London and was thinking about Weather Report or pop music, and I made that decision. I hitched back and I got stuck, and I ended up sleeping under a hedge, and I made a distinction between music and the music business. Music is the hobby, music business is another kind of vehicle.
Right.
And be aware of both of them if you can. Otherwise it's a hobby, and that's totally, we're totally respected for that. But don't confuse them. And I find a lot of people that confuse the two.
Right.
Literally when I was in Poland, there was a guy that was homeless on the street because he poured all his money into recording or whatever, and hadn't worked out how to live or pay the rent. So
right.
Gotta be careful.
So, and you don't want the music business to ruin music for you.
Exactly. But so it's good to have that kind of responsibility, and I've done a lot of study in my time. Eventually I did a doctorate, but I also did a master's in film and orchestration. And what I really admired was it was online. I did it all on the Berkeley course for about 3 years. And I was in awe of some of the musicians that were successful musicians in Sugarland and some of these artists you might know. And they'd be on the tour bus, and instead of drugging and drinking themselves into stupor, they'd be studying.
Wow.
They'd be studying about the music business. And it's like power to the musician, to be aware of your environment and to be able to navigate it. Otherwise, you can always rely on the fact there's always kind of gangsters and people ready to just kind of suck your blood.
Right. Take advantage. Exactly. It's good to have someone who's been through the ringer, so to speak, to kind of, teach you and show you the right way. But absolutely. But How Soon Is Now? That's the Smiths song.
There we go.
It just popped it,
and it's back to the undefeated time, isn't it?
Exactly. I'm not hollow inside anymore because I remember that. But
How Soon Is Now? I know.
But everyone check out Religion, Revolution, Railways. You can get the CD. It's on Amazon. I can't wait to get it and play it, but I can only play it in one spot in my house. So I can't just walk around with it because it's kind of centrally located in my family room. So unlike
that's very good. That's very good. Yeah.
But I can't wait to listen to the whole thing. But Gilbert, thank you so much for your time today. This was fantastic.
It's been a joy to talk to you, and I hope we talk again soon.
And a special thanks to Gilbert for joining me today. Can't believe it took me that long to remember the title of How Soon It Is Now. I'm pretty embarrassed by that. Check out the band's 7 CD box set. You can get it on Amazon. You can check out their 3 albums on Spotify. They're fantastic. And if you have a guest suggestion, hit me up on X, formerly Twitter, at the first Noel19, or like the page Early My Youth on Facebook. You can go to iTunes, check out all the past episodes we've had, over 300 of them. While you're there, please rate and review the show. Don't have iTunes? Not a problem. Shows on SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music, basically wherever you can find a podcast. A new episode comes in every week. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you then.